The two papers I chose for my RCA presentations were Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky and The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. The Perks of Being a Wallflower's main theme is sexual abuse within the story. The other present themes are social anxiety, depression, PTSD, first love, and slight sex and drug abuse. Charlie, at a younger age, was a victim of sexual abuse by his late aunt. Speak by Laurie Anderson, a supporting title. Emily was a victim as well of sexual abuse by someone she admired after a few drinks. According to the Colorado Coalition Against Sexual Abuse, 90% of juvenile young adults know their perpetrators. In Charlie's case, it was his family, and in Emily's case, it was a crush, someone she admired. Both of these characters showed signs of seclusion, depression. They had issues with making friends. In Emily's case, she didn't want to make friends. In Charlie's case, he actually tried to make friends. Both befriended teachers that gave them extra assignments to encourage them. Charlie's case, he wanted to make friends so he can get out of the funk. In Emily's case, she wanted no friends so she could get away from it. Charlie used writing notes to himself as a means of coping to forget about everything. Emily used drawing pictures as her means of coping with everything, trying to forget about it, not feel ashamed of what happened. Jacksonville State understands how relevant young abuse is in America. Not just the sex trafficking, how it can affect someone's mind. In this case, we have therapy sessions in Doggate Hall. There are organizations on campus like Active Minds that help deal with stress, that help deal with suppressed memories to overcome. For women specifically, called WISE, it is Women's Issues, Support, and Empowerment. The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee is a great contribution to the genre of historical fiction. Stacey Lee did a great job of accurately describing relationships of parents, customer to business, how everything was interacting. She really got into what it meant to live in the 1920s in Atlanta, Georgia. The character in the story, The Downstairs Girl, is Zhou Khan. She is a Chinese immigrant. During that time, there was an act called the Chinese Exclusion Act. That meant that the government limited how and when and where Asian immigrants could enter the country. Zhou Khan struggled with finding a job. She struggled with trying to remain unseen because she did not want any attention. Zhou Khan even struggled with identifying her own family. The act lasted from 1882 until 1920. Native Americans, African Americans, and other immigrants that entered the nation to live the American dream. Dialogue, the setting, the plot, the world-building aspect of the story is what makes it so realistic, is what makes it a worthy contribution to the genre. And I found a documentary clip titled Chapter 1, The Chinese Exclusion Act. Enjoy.
All men are created equal. Now, how can you say that this is a group of people who are biologically and culturally unfit to live a civilized life, to appreciate and practice American culture, political and religious ideals? That's why I think a lot of Americans had a hard time to learn that the Chinese Exclusion Act really exists for 60 years. They couldn't believe it. The government did that.
We have to remember that for most of the 19th century, immigration into the United States was basically open. You just showed up. So the Chinese exclusion law is one of the first really comprehensively restrictive laws. And it's also the first and only time in the entire history of the United States that a group is singled out by name, Chinese,